They undermine traditional life, and they deracinate society. You can take the greatest Jewish minds ever. Marx, Freud, Einstein, what have they given us? Communism, infantile sexuality, and the atom bomb.
But we didn't have an actor. I had the same problem I had with all the people who were going to give me the money. I didn't have an actor. And I saw hundreds of people in New York where I was going to make the movie. And then I went to LA and I saw hundreds of people. I was thinking, God, maybe this guy, maybe that guy, they're not so bad, but they didn't feel right. And we had 5 days of auditions in LA. And you film these auditions, right? You videotape them. And then we had a bunch of people. So it's the sixth day. We didn't have the office we had for shooting them. So I did it in the apartment where I was staying, in my friend's house that I was staying in their apartment. And a bunch of people came in and nobody was right. And then the second to last guy who came in was this weird looking guy. This is not a weird looking guy. It's a completely normal looking guy. But he looked like a surfer. He had blonde hair sticking out from underneath a knit cap. And he was the furthest thing in the world from a Jew. But he was great. And he did these, when you do these auditions, you do the same scene over and over again, 2 or 3 scenes. You see them 150, 200 times. You're sick of them. He did it and it was new. It was fresh. It was different from everybody else. It had an authority. It had a life to it that was really exciting. I took the videotapes of that home to New York and I showed it to my wife and to my friend who was going to become the costume designer of the film. I showed him 12 people. They both picked him out. They both said, that guy. So I knew. And then I went to the producer and said, I have this unknown guy. He's unknown, but he's great. And the producer was sufficiently a very, very interesting, wonderful person, tricky person, but a guy named Peter Hoffman, not a Jew. And he looked at the videos and he said, I see why you want him. Okay. And that's how Ryan got the part. And then Ryan came to New York because he was living in LA and he hung out. You remember the scene where he goes to synagogue and he meets the people he knew from yeshiva back when, and they're outside the synagogue. I think it's on Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah.
And they get into an argument about Israel. Mm-hmm. There's a short, dark, aggressive guy. His real name was Judah Lazarus. And he was really my model. He was the guy who played Danny in that little sketch I made. And I said to Ryan, you hang out with Judah. And Ryan is a sponge. Was a sponge then? I don't know. He was a sponge. He just soaked it up. He got the speech rhythms. He got the gestures. He got the attitude. He's a brilliant kid. Ryan Gosling is a brilliant guy. He never had an education of normal sort, but he's very, very smart. And he picked it up and he was authentic. And yeshiva bookers would say of his performance, oh, well, obviously he went to yeshiva. But in fact, he didn't. Or anything like it.
Yeah, he grew up.
So that's how Ryan got in it.
He grew up Mormon, right?
He grew up Mormon, but he wasn't. He grew up Mormon, but his parents, I think, were of Irish Catholic stock. They were Irish Catholics who would become Mormons, and so Ryan grew up as a Mormon. Yeah, that's right. And he was very much a Mormon when he was making the film. He would never touch, but he had this kind of Talmudic mind. So he would say, well, Joseph Smith says no alcohol and no coffee or tea for caffeine, but he doesn't say anything about Coke. And it's true, Coke has caffeine, but I'm not. If he didn't say anything against Coke, I'm not keeping Coke off my. I mean, it's really the way somebody who some yeshiva book or wants to argue with the halakha would be, or if he was an idiot like me. And that was and Ryan would if he was doing if he was doing a scene where he had to be profane, say fucking kikes or whatever else he had to say, he would apologize in advance to everybody in the crew and everybody in the cast that he was going to have to say these bad words. And then when the take came, he would say them with complete relish and joy. Very impressive. He was an impressive guy. We knew 3 days in that he was a movie star. And we had a movie star in our hands that nobody knew about. We knew about it and nobody else. I mean, not nobody, but you know what I mean? The world didn't know. It was quite exciting.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. I truly believe that he played it, aside from not looking super Jewish, he played it better than probably any Jewish actor I can think of. The way he talked, he's from Canada, but for some reason has like a New York accent. Um,
That's Judah Lazarus. That is Ryan channeling Judah Lazarus's speech manual.
yeah. And it's such
Because
a
he's a musician. He's got a fantastic ear.
it's such a controversial film compared to other stuff he's done. Like before that, he was in the Mickey Mouse Club. Following that, he's done, The Notebook, La La Land. Did you have a sense of
But
first?
he's done some tougher films. He did Half Nelson. He did other films that were demanding. He didn't just do easy films.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm thinking more in like the respect that I guess the fangirls think of him like kind of the mass audience that he might get marketed as.
Yeah.
Was there? Did you sense any conflict? Because he's not Jewish at all, and then throughout the film, like you're saying, he would just go on more, the most anti-Semitic tirades you've ever seen. Besides on set, like, do you have a sense of how he looks back on the film or how he felt about it after? Did he have any concern for his career? Does he like it overall?
I think he likes it very much. I think a lot of people will say to him, well, that's the best thing or one of the best things you've done. I know that before he took the role, he was worried, would it be a bad influence on him? Who is the actor who plays the love interest in Aaron Brockovich?
Julia Roberts?
No, Julia Roberts is the woman. Who's the man?
Oh.
Well, whoever it is, it's a young leading man type who I think is also Mormon. And Ryan apparently went to him. I can't remember the guy's name because I'm old and I can't remember. But Ryan went to him and said, "What do you think?" And the guy said to him, "I don't know about this, but what do you think? I like the part." The guy said to him, "If you like the part, if it's exciting to you, then do it." And he did it. So he didn't come to me with misgivings. He didn't say, "I'm not so sure about this." But apparently he had them, at least to some extent. I think he looks back on it as a great experience. I mean, it made him a star. You play a villain, really not a villain, but you play the bad guy. That's a ticket. That's a ticket. If you've got something, that's a good role to launch your career.
And, is there a reason you didn't, you said you knew you had a star on your hands, a few days in. Is there a reason you didn't try to like further the professional relationship and make more films with him? Because, he's blown up so big.
Did.
And oh, you did?
Yeah, we did. We tried a couple things, and one thing almost worked and it didn't work. And when I made Noise, I imagined a middle-aged man, and Ryan read the script and said, "I want to do it." So I tried to get it off with Ryan and couldn't. And then by the time I had the money, he was gone. And I had Tim, and I thought Tim was great. So, but we did try.
Gotcha.
And by that point, I think he was too big. He was getting, he was working with Dennis, who did Bill in a Wave and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And when an actor gets that big, are they not as inclined to take kind of these more indie projects?
I think Ryan, if he got the right indie project, would take it always, because I think what he really wants to do, unless I don't know what his financial life is like. I don't know how much money he needs, so forth. But I would think he would always be tempted by a good role.